Okay, I am not here with Chino because Chino has some human aggression related issues. I think he's coming from an insecure place, when we have dogs that are reactive, they're not going to listen to us when they're reactive. So in this video, I'm going to kind of go over a medley of a bunch of tips that will help and some exercises. And in this write-up where this video is going to be posted, I'm going to have a whole bunch of exercises that I've done with other dogs linked. The guardians here are going to need to do that with the dog independently, because if a new person's here, he's not comfortable, and so he's reacting, trying, because he's learned that by acting aggressive, it causes people to move away. Which is what, if you ever have an aggressive dog, you should never punish or correct a dog for growling or acting aggressive, i.e. baring its teeth, growling, grumbling, barking. Those are all warnings. I don't like what you're doing. I want you to go away. If you punish or correct a dog for doing those, a lot of dogs will learn to stop doing those and just go straight to a bite, which is dangerous. Now, one of the first things I want to talk to the guardians about doing is a little bit of free shaping. And free shaping is basically where we kind of wait for the dog to do a behavior that we want. Sometimes we create a scenario where they're more likely to do a certain or an element of the behavior, maybe is a better way to put it, and we reward the dog for doing that. It's called free shaping. You can Google it. So basically what you want to do, first of all, you're going to need to prime or load the clicker. The way you do that is you get regular, just make sure you get a regular clicker. Don't spend too much. It's just, these are about $5 a piece or less. And so basically what you want to do is use a classically conditioned response. You show the dog you have a treat, throw it on the ground. As soon as the dog licks it up, click. And then basically you do that for about 10 treats in a row, maybe 3 or 4 times the first day, maybe once the second day. After that, you should be good to go. So then what you want to do is when the dog is looking at, you pick an object or whatever it is and the dog is looking at it, as soon as the dog looks away, you click and give the dog a treat, and you can say the command word, distance or away, or some word that means to look away from something. Dogs' eyes often get them in trouble. Dogs should meet by scent, not by their eyes. So if I'm looking at something and you say away, and I look away, or you wait for the dog to look away, we click when the dog turns its head, then we give it the treat and say the command word. So maybe you say, the first woman I ever saw do this, her word was ignore, but it turned out to be a negative. So I maybe redirect, or something along those lines. That means, so basically you just put an object down, and a new object is always going to capture the dog's attention, and he's going to look at it and just wait. As soon as he turns away, this way or that way, whichever direction, give him the treat and say the command word. So you want to get to the point where you can have your dog looking at something, and you say the redirect, and the dog automatically turns his head away on command. So then when you're walking down the street and you see starts staring at another dog, the first thing they do is stare, and typically they lower their head and they stare really intently. Well, if you can teach them to look away, and then you do a focus exercise, also something we should put on the list, but we'll put on it later. Then we can move the dog away and help it focus on us and allow the stimulus or whatever it is the dogs normally be reactive to walk by. Now, when you meet people, meeting people inside is difficult. The guardians here have discovered that meeting outside is better. They have a special dog handler that's coming by who's doing a really good job, and being very patient when a lot of them are not. And so they've learned that if they just meet him outside, it's easier. Now, when we have the door here, this is the access point to the house, and the dog here, I'm pretty sure, thinks he's a guard dog. So this is my job. I'm going to accost or protect anything that comes through this door. So anything that comes through this door already has it has baggage automatically. So the guardians do it outside. We don't have the trigger, the knock, which becomes a trigger, almost like a command word for the dog to get excited. We're also outside, so there's a lot of distractions. So whenever possible, the only thing that we like to do is whenever we have dogs potential for being reactive, we want the dog to be walking. So one of the things I'd like you to do is I'd like to actually have you come over and walk together. So when we have this person come over, have him meet you outside, put him on the leash, and it'd be nice if that person is seated. Now, we're about to have snow, so depends on how scooped up and what the streets are like. A lot of times what I'll do is I will leave a trail of really high value treats leading from the door to the person who should be outside of your yard. And so when he meets the person, the dog should meet the person from the side or from behind. Now, insecure dogs, it's dangerous to have them come up right behind, because that's a lot of times why they will bite. So your job is handling the leash is to make sure the dog's not lunging. Now, if he is excited, that's not a good time to do it. One of the videos that'll be on this post is going to be on how to teach your dog to be calm when you're leashing them up. So when you're leading him outside, if he's just lunging towards somebody and you let him do it, that's the unbalanced energy he has. So as soon as he starts lunging, stop or do a circle, turn away from it, do like a big 12-foot circle and walk away. And when you walk away, you want to keep one hand with the leash here and then holding your other hand on the leash here, and you're not pulling him. Don't pull him away. You want to kind of get him gradually going to the side. Think of like a horse. You're not going to be able to pull a horse or stop a horse, but you can get a horse turning a little bit and use our momentum to help you. So think of the same way, because he's a pitty, he's got a lot of strength. So get him kind of turning sideways and then do like a 12-foot circle, walk away, and then we'll try to walk back towards it again if you want to walk back towards it. If not, once you turn away, then just keep increasing distance. Once the dog's reactive, the best thing you do is increase distance. He's not going to listen to you. If you give him treats or pet him, you're just going to really be reinforcing it. What we have to do is increase the distance. My 2 tests, when I increase the distance, I have enough distance when the dog can sit and take a treat. If I won't do either one of those things, you're too close. So what you want to do is create a situation where the dog handler is going to be maybe one house away. When he gets here, puts a trail of treats, maybe one about every foot or so, all the way to where he's at. And when he meets, you're not letting him lunge. He's walking with a loose leash next to you. And then when you get up to the person, now that he's comfortable with this person can have a treat like here, and I would hold it like this. So the dog's going to come and lick it off when I'm not looking directly at the dog. The handler, I'm pretty sure, knows this, but you want to avoid direct eye contact. When I was hanging out with him a little bit, he did appear to have a little bit of eye contact dominance issues, which is why the focus exercise that we're going to have linked on this write-up will really help, because it's actually going to reward him for looking people in the eye. Also, teaching him how to catch is another great way that you can have the dog engage with a person, where the dog gets to manage however much the distance is that it feels comfortable. So what you want to do is, when you do it, don't go like 1, 2, and then the dog starts looking and it hits the head and falls down. So what you want to do is just the 2 guardians that are in here, one of them sitting next to the dog, the other one sitting over here, and you want to throw it just an underhand throw like that. And throw it so good so all the dog has to do is open his mouth and it goes in the mouth. It's still going to hit him on the nose and fall to the ground. The person with the dog picks up the treat and then gives it back to the thrower. The only way the dog gets it is by snatching it out of the air. That gives them the motivation to want to snatch it out of the air. After a while, the dog will start snatching it out of the air. Then you can have people come over and they can play this game with him. Now we have, we're not going to show it, but we have like a barrier between the kitchen and the living room. Well, we could do this game there over the barrier. So the dog's there. Now the dog is liking the engagement with the person because they're getting something positive. They get to manage however much distance they want. And after, the idea is at first the dog's kind of farther away, and then they start getting closer and closer, and they're like at the fence, let me through there. The guardians here have done a really good job of muzzle training the dog. And so anytime you're uncertain, you're going to try to do a next step, using the muzzle in a positive way is great. But remember, we can also give the dog an advantage by kind of putting our finger on the scale, as I like to call it, exercising the dog before we do these things. Before you're going to meet him, do the Stairmaster or whatever the things are in the video below. I'll kind of summarize them, and there'll probably be a video on exercise on the write-up as well. So find a way to exercise him. Give him 10 minutes to recover after the exercise ends, before you go out for the walk or before the person comes inside. And so that way we can kind of set them up for success. Now there's a whole bunch of other stuff, and I'm pretty much going to cover it in the Roadmap to Success video. This is normally a video where I'm working with the dog, but like I said, with him being as reactive as he can, it's really not going to be very beneficial. So have your handler watch this. There's probably a lot of stuff in here that the handler is already familiar with, but there probably come little tricks and stuff that will be beneficial. Now, last little part, I'm going to kind of riff on the walk. So once you meet, you're going to leave the trail of treats. So by the time he gets to the person, because he already knows this person, he should be feeling pretty comfortable. Then we're going to go for a walk together. Now, I should have asked this, where is he on the walk? Is he right next to you, or is he kind of all over the place?
In front or next to.
Okay. So basically, we'd like to have, ideally, like one of the guardians here, and the dog, let's say the dog's on the right, then the dog, and then the handler here. So we'd like to kind of make a sandwich with the dog being the meat in the sandwich. Now, if he's reacting, increase the distance, and what we do is what we call parallel walking. We're walking, we're all in a row. Whoever's in front is in charge. Now, we don't want to put tension on the leash, because that can create a reaction as well. Since he's sniffing around, as long as he's not lunging towards the person, we're going to allow that sniffing. But what we want to do is we want to build up a cachet of positive experiences, things the dog likes to do that is now associated with this other new person. Now, a couple of the things that we were doing is, one of them is going to be click for looks, where basically this is after you've primed the clicker, where basically you have the person, the handler, just outside of sight, and the dog's in the backyard. And basically you have a bunch of treats, and you have the handler pop into sight for 1 second. As soon as the dog looks at him, you click, and then give the dog a treat. The dog is going to hear the click, and he's going to turn away, and you give him the treat. I would say the handler's name. We're not going to say in this video, but you say that person's name. And then the dog looks, and the person's gone. So I look at them, something good happens, and I look back, and the person's gone. Eventually you can do the click for look. They look, you click, They come back and get the treat, and then they see the person, and you can do multiples. But again, what we're doing is creating a positive association. I look at the person, they're not touching me, they're not close to me, they're not engaging with me, but just looking at them gets me a reward. And after that happens enough time, the dog has a positive association. Most dogs get in trouble because they're looking with their eyes and they should be looking with their nose, and that's how they meet. Well, this kind of helps add that positivity towards it. All right, well, that whining is Chino, and he wants to get out. And so we're going to wrap up this video. But if you have any questions about these sort of things, make sure you let me know.